You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Jim for SDC International Shipping. As always, thanks for joining me. I am your host for the Monday episode. I release a new episode every Monday, and my friend Laura Lee releases mini episodes throughout the week. So if you haven't listened to her episodes yet, she releases a new episode on Tuesdays through Saturdays. I think you'll really enjoy them. They're shorter in nature than this one. I go maybe into a little bit more detail, different type of detail than she does. But I think there's a nice balance between the two of us. So I hope you enjoy this podcast overall, and that it gives you some valuable information if you're thinking about moving internationally, whether it's something that maybe you're considering doing within the next several months, or maybe even the next several years, or you're just fascinated by the topic, which was what got me interested in this entire topic to begin with, the topic of moving internationally. As I mentioned in some past episodes, my family, both sides, immigrated here to the United States from Italy way back when. My grandfather was born on the boat. He had dual citizenship. I've always just found this whole concept of relocating internationally, moving, especially when you're moving from the United States. I understand why people come from other countries to the United States, but in recent years, in the recent decade, there's been a trend of Americans leaving the U.S. in order to enjoy opportunities, lower costs of living, less stress when it comes to the kind of lifestyle they're after in other countries. So things have changed over time. Now today I want to talk about, and I want to talk specifically to those who are considering moving internationally from Los Angeles. Now, I'm making this recording in 2024, and I just want to jump into this topic. It's a big move, moving to another country. There's no doubt about it. But SDC International Shipping can help make the entire process much smoother as well as stress-free. Before we jump into it, I just want to remind you that you can visit our website at any time at sdcinternationalshipping.com. We have a free quote form you can fill out there. You can chat with us live online. Or if you're more of a mobile person, you want to call us at our toll-free number, 877-339-0267, 877-339-0267. Okay, now talking about moving internationally. Moving internationally is nothing short of a life event, a significant life event in and of itself. And it's one of those things that you're probably not going to do it, a dozen times in your life, all things being equal. So it's going to be a time that's going to be filled with excitement, anticipation, as well as some challenges. So whether you're relocating for work, family, or just a change of scenery, there's a lot of factors that you have to consider. Today, I'll cover some of the key aspects of international moving and how SDC can support you each step of the way. But first, let's answer the question, why are people moving internationally today, especially from places like Los Angeles? So let's talk about that. In recent years, we've seen a growing trend of Angelinos, as some refer to those who live in Los Angeles. There's been a growing trend in people moving from Los Angeles and relocating to various parts of the world. I'm talking about Europe, Asia, Australia, even some to Latin America. And those are just some of the popular destinations. And the reasons vary. Some are seeking new career opportunities. Others want to be closer to family. Others want to explore different cultures. But when we look at LA, it's not just LA. People are moving from some of the most iconic cities in America in 2024. I'm talking about places like New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, along with Los Angeles. These places have become too expensive for many to be able to live comfortably. Some of the individuals we're talking about may be the younger generation as well as the older. on limited incomes. And not to mention, there has been an increase in crime, which has led many businesses. Now, I'm not talking about so much about crime, like you get robbed when you're going down the street or somebody breaks into your house, that kind of crime. That kind of crime is everywhere, especially in city areas. But I don't think the increase has been so much with that, from what I can tell, as it's been with store crime, retail theft. Matter of fact, it's become so overwhelming in some areas that stores have been leaving their locations in places like New York and Chicago and Los Angeles and San Francisco, because when you couple the theft with higher taxes, even amazingly enough, many of the international banks have relocated from Wall Street in New York City to find places that are cheaper to do business. Many of these, I think over 149, have relocated to places like Miami and Houston and in Tennessee, I think Nashville even. So when you consider this perfect storm of events, negative things which seem to be happening simultaneously, more individuals and families are considering international moves as a viable option. Now, on the other side, you can just think moving abroad in general can open up a world of opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have available to you. So number one might be career growth. Many professionals move overseas just because there's better job prospects to work with or for multinational companies. Next, we have education. Students often relocate for higher education opportunities, going to renowned universities. Some just relocate for life experience. If you're going to do something like travel throughout Europe or something like that, most people are going to do it when they're younger, and before they settle down. There's quality of life. Some people are seeking a better quality of life, whether it's a slower pace in certain countries and rural areas, or they're looking for a more vibrant culture. Tokyo was the first thing that just came to mind. And still others are going just with that sense of adventure. There's a lot of expats that work online. They fit into that digital nomad class or classification of worker. And there's so many people doing this now that some of the countries have actually changed their laws to accommodate the people who are considered digital nomads to make it easier for them to do business in these countries. So whether you're an adventurer or you're more pragmatic and you're just looking for a cheaper place to retire to, or you're a professional or any number of these things, there's no shortage of reasons that people can tell you about today for moving from places like the United States. And they're moving from other places as well. They're moving from France, they're moving from Germany, they're moving from the UK. So everything starts with the planning stages. Planning is going to be critical when it comes to international moving, of course, and everything's going to start with research. And that's easier to do today than it's ever been before in history because we have the internet. We have all of these websites and groups available where you can read, watch, listen, communicate, chat with people from around the world. And so whatever destination you're considering, you want to understand the culture, the cost of living, the language, and the legal requirements, and how each of those things are going to affect you and your family on a personal level. From there, you look into things like customs and traditions. You research the housing market and the cost of living. In other words, if we had blocks on the left of where you are now, you want to break down your life into those little chunks, those little categories, and then you want to research each category at your destination country, or your destination country and / city, or country and rural area. Because just like any other country, depending on where you live in that country, your experience can be much different than living somewhere else. For example, living in the city and living in the country, whether you're talking about Europe or the United States, there's going to be a vast difference when it comes to your day-to-day experience depending on where you're actually living. Housing market is another thing. You want to compare the housing market of where you're going based on what you understand about where you are now to see what the pros and the cons are. I think with just about every decision in life, there's not just going to be pros or pluses. There's going to be a few cons and negatives, and that's okay. I mean, you live in the real world. Some things may not be as good as the country that you left, or the city that you've left, or the state that you've left, but the advantages may overwhelm or outweigh the disadvantages. For example, just moving here in the United States, I've experienced in my lifetime, there were certain foods that were available. Now, if you're a foodie, this might be more important to you. If you're not a foodie, you may not care. But there were certain foods that were not available to me here in the southern United States that were available in the Northeast. And if they were, it didn't taste the same. It's almost like if you go to a place like New Orleans in the French Quarter and you eat a certain type of cuisine there. If you eat that same type of food in other states, it doesn't taste the same. It doesn't taste as good. It's like eating Chicago pizza in, I don't know, North Carolina. It's not going to taste the same. Same thing with like Italian breads and cookies and things like that. Some chefs tell me it has to do with the humidity and the environments that the baking is done in. Some people have told me it's the water. The water makes the difference in how bread and many other things taste. I kind of go along with that myself. I know that where I came from, originally you couldn't drink the water out of the faucet, but when you came further south in the United States, you could. Today, I don't think very many people do drink water directly from the faucet. They buy bottled water and things like that. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there about understanding and researching the little details of wherever it is that you're going to, and understanding that there are pros and cons to everything. So next, you want to create a timeline for your move. Start planning at least 6 months in advance. Now, when I say planning, you may be thinking about making your move for years ahead of schedule and be researching your destination. Maybe you go and you spend several weeks there and you become accustomed to what it's like, and maybe you even live there temporarily. You rent a place for a month or longer. You get things situated with, if you're going there for educational reasons or retirement reasons or even professional reasons, and you experience it a little bit, so you're not going in blind, or you're not going in just based on a video or two that you saw, or there's a lot of things that people do when it comes to preparation. Some people are really preparers and others aren't. Some people just take a leap of faith based on what they know and they figure it out as they go. But I think when we're talking about a household move, that it's wise to plan about 6 months in advance, because you have to make sure that you have everything in order, like visas and work permits and other kinds of paperwork. Keep a checklist of tasks that need to be completed as you move forward, getting closer to the time of your actual move. You can do that with an app. You can do that with a simple little notebook that you can carry around with you. You can schedule appointments like visa interviews, medical checkups, and records, and get everything together well in advance. Budgeting, of course, is very important because moving internationally can be costly. So make sure you account for your shipping costs, things like temporary housing, what type of insurances you'll need, and other expenses. And then from there, you can check out various moving companies to find out which company is going to be the best fit for you. You factor in things like import taxes and duties, maybe on your belongings. Now, when it comes to choosing the right moving company, of course, I talk about SDC International Shipping, because SDC specializes in international moves and offers a range of services that can be tailored or adjusted to your specific needs. So SDC will handle everything because they're an international household mover. They're not just an international shipper, and there's a difference. SDC will handle everything from packing your belongings to ensuring they arrive safely at your new home. If you want your car shipped along with your belongings, your car can be shipped inside of a container. Now, depending on what country you're going to and the year and make of your car, older or newer, that sometimes it doesn't make sense to ship a car at all. You can always get a new car wherever you're going, or a pre-owned vehicle. So I'm just saying, in general, if you want to ship a car along with your household goods, that option, of course, is available. And there's certain countries have driving on the opposite side of the road that we're Not really used to here in the United States. It would take probably a little bit of time to get used to driving on the opposite side of the road. Now, when it comes to doing your review of a moving company, I like the Better Business Bureau still. I rediscovered them recently because I discovered that I was looking up another type of service online. And I realized that whether you're looking on Yelp or some of these other services that are designed for you to leave a review, not all of these reviews are genuine reviews. And I'm talking about both the positive and the negative ones. Some of them are purchased. I know companies, I've heard about this, I've seen it online. They purchase positive reviews. Some companies purchase negative reviews to use against a competitor. One of the things I like about the Better Business Bureau, now, of course, if the company's been around for a long time, then you can kind of get an idea if you see the same kind of issue showing up time and time and time again over the last several years, that maybe the company has a problem with a certain type of situation or a certain type of product or service. But I like the Better Business Bureau because everything is better vetted there, and it takes a little more of an effort to leave a review with the Better Business Bureau than it does with a lot of these other services. The same goes with Trustpilot. Trustpilot, and none of these are perfect, by the way, but I think that if you look at the reviews, if you talk to people who've actually used the service before, you get a more realistic view of how good that company is, what their strengths are, and what you can expect. Let's talk a little bit about the moving process with STC International Shipping. Everything starts out with the initial consultation, and during that stage, they'll discuss what your needs are, and from there you can get a detailed quote. A detailed quote is important, especially when you're getting very close to the time of your move. Maybe you're 90 days out, 60 days out, and they get the eyes on whatever it is that you're going to be shipping. And that's easy to do. There's so many apps today. If they can't get there physically to get eyes on your items. And a reason why this is so important is, think about this. Imagine just for a moment that you have an antique grandfather clock. And so moving that's going to be different than moving many of the other items in your house, because it's going to require special crating for extra protection, very delicate items maybe that have to be taken apart and then reassembled at the destination. And so when you're bidding for an international move, if the company does not have a representative actually seeing what it is that you're moving, how can they possibly give you an accurate quote? Or then again, you can find yourself in a situation where you're quoted one number, and then as you move through the process, additional fees get added on top of that and added on top of that. And the next thing that you know, you have not the kind of experience you were hoping for. So the initial consultation is very important. You can ask questions. You can get those questions answered, whether it's about the packing itself or the destination or timelines. And then from there, once you see the detailed quote, once you're happy with everything, once everything has been tailored for your specific needs, the packers actually will come out. Once you sign the contract, of course, the packers come out to your home on the appointed day, and they carefully pack everything. All of your belongings get packed, specialty items crated, and so forth. STC uses high-quality packing materials to ensure everything is protected during the transit. And the nice thing about having others pack for you, professional packers, is you don't have to worry about, when it comes to insurance, that the item is covered, because insurance will demand that items or a specific item, for example, is packed by a professional. So if you put insurance on something and you've packed it, you can see you can see where there's a disconnect there, because maybe you don't know what you're doing. And so that's where professional packing comes in. Everything will be packed using, again, the best materials available to protect your belongings and your valuables during the shipping process. And then, of course, your items will be loaded onto containers and shipped via sea or air freight. You'll get the tracking information so that you can monitor the progress of your shipment. Everything goes through customs clearance, and the STC team will handle the customs paperwork to ensure compliance and everything is working with the regulations properly. And then they'll keep you informed if any additional documentation is needed. And once the items clear customs, then they're delivered to your new home. So you have everything leaving the U.S., you have everything entering your destination port, your destination country. They take everything from there and deliver it to your home. That's what the door-to-door service is all about. Now, there's other types of services like door-to-port, maybe where you go there and you pick up your belongings and you're responsible. But again, for insurance purposes, door-to-door covers everything. It covers from the packing to the shipment to the unpacking, because professionals are handling your items. And so that, again, is what most insurance policies require. Just so you know, there's some of the details out there that people sometimes don't think about. And when everything is unpacked and set up and your furniture is set up properly on the other side, then that entire process is taken care of. And that's what's great about having professionals do this job for you, is it because it removes all of the work from your plate and puts it on theirs. Because there's going to be plenty of other things for you to focus on and do. You have a new home. It's a new area. Even if you've been there before or you've lived there temporarily in the past, you have to recognize that now it's a totally different scenario. Living somewhere and visiting somewhere temporarily are much different. And so you're going to start a new daily routine. You're going to get used to everything all over again. For some people, that's overwhelming. For other people, it's exciting. I think for a lot of people, it's a combination of both. So, for example, maybe you have to learn a new language, or maybe you have to become more proficient in that language, more comfortable with the language. Because if you're moving to a country where English isn't maybe the only language that's spoken or isn't the primary language, then maybe you're going to take language classes before you go and while you're there. Then there's a certain amount of cultural adaptation that has to take place. And then maybe from there you begin networking. You meet new people, other expats or other people who are in that destination. Maybe some of them come from the same part of the U.S. that you've come from, and you make those connections. So before you actually make the move, there's a few tips that are they're common sense, but I think the one that comes to mind, first of all, would have to be decluttering. It doesn't make sense to pay to have things moved if you really don't need them in your destination country. Okay, so let me start to wrap things up by saying I'd like to address a common concern that I hear from time to time. Some people have contemplated an international move, they've thought about it, but honestly, the fear of the unknown can be overwhelming to some people. They think, what if things don't turn out as expected in the new country? What if the reality doesn't match what they dreamed it would be? What if they lose their job? And they have all of these various worries. I think it's natural to have these thoughts pass through your mind. We're all human. We all wonder what if. But here's something reassuring. At SDC International Shipping, they understand that circumstances can change. Plans may need to be adjusted. And if for any reason you find yourself needing to return to the United States after your international move, be it quickly or a year out or a few years out, don't worry, we have you covered. We've helped clients move abroad and when needed, facilitated their return back home again. Whether it's due to an unexpected challenge, personal reasons, or simply a change of heart, you can rest assured that SDC International Shipping can assist you in a smooth transition back to the United States again. So if you're hesitant about making that leap into international living, know that you have options and support available every step of the way. Your journey doesn't have to be a one-way ticket. It can be a round-trip ticket. You can have that available to you through SDC International Shipping. So let me just end by saying if you're ready to embark on the move, you're ready to get started, maybe you're here in Los Angeles, it's 2024, you're ready for a new beginning. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out. You can visit the website at sdcinternationalshipping.com. You can fill out the free quote form. You can chat with us live or call us directly at 877-339-0267. That's 877-339-0267. So thanks for listening today to the International Moving Podcast. I appreciate you joining me as always. I look forward to having you back for next Monday's episode. Safe travels to you, and I will see you then.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.